Hello, hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Hriday and I want to talk about app development, everything there is to know in terms of making apps for Android, iOS, and cross platforms. But before starting with this, I just want to talk about why I'm in this position and talking about this topic. So, a couple of years back, roughly around 2022, I made this app called an icon pack app called Frostycons, which is available on Google Play Store. I just created it using an available dashboard called Candy Bar. Although there was another dashboard called Blueprint. I created using Candy Bar because that's what I felt. Because I had no prior programming knowledge, as even now I don't have. But I was able to figure things out because of help with the community and the Candy Bar community on the Telegram, as well as the wiki provided. So I created it. It took me several times, and you can check that app on the Play Store right now. The thing that bothered me most was I didn't know how to use the software. I made it using Android Studio, although I could just get by, make an update and push it out. I knew more making icons than using the app, so I decided I want to recreate it right now, and I wanted to recreate it as part of my journey to become an indie developer. Recently I became more interested in the idea of creating apps to solve your own problems, and I wanted to start with an app, and what better to already start with an app that already published and is on Play Store. So that is why I'm starting with my app. So before we go on to what is the procedure for Android, iOS, and cross-platform, I just wanted to talk about basic terminology, because before researching about this, I didn't know what was the difference between an IDE and even a programming language. I didn't know what was a developing environment. So I just want to talk about this. Basically, developing environment or an IDE is where you create the code, and the programming language is how you write. So basically, an IDE lets you write code, debug, and compile and create apps on a computer. And programming language is how you give instructions to that computer to tell, okay, this is what I want, this is how your app is supposed to act and create the apps that you want. That is how you communicate. There are several different programming language: Python, C++, Java, Kotlin, etc. Python is mostly used for data analysis and web development, and I guess Java, Kotlin, C++ are all used in mobile app development. So that is that. And different programming languages different in two things: semantics and syntax. Semantic is what the code means, and syntax is the rules for writing a code in a particular language. So that is that. And I just also wanted to touch upon what frameworks and libraries means, because we'll come up with them later. Frameworks and libraries are just pre-existing codes that help you make the process of making an app more efficient and easier. And coming to the programming languages, we have mainly Java and Kotlin for the Android side, and Swift for the Apple side of things, like iOS, macOS, iPadOS, etc. Create apps for that OSs. So we are starting with an Android app. I just want to talk about Java and Kotlin. Kotlin is more easy to use. It's preferred and is actually supported by Google. And Java is more common. It has extensive frameworks. Example: React UI, that is React JavaScript is for creating UI, is for example of a framework for Java. Coming to the app Frostycons, that I'm going to be recreating. I have a choice between Java and Kotlin. Although Java is more common and is more extensive libraries and frameworks, Kotlin on the other hand has easier learning curve and is preferred and supported by Google. So because of this reason, I'm actually choosing to go ahead with Kotlin for creating the app. So moving ahead to the gist of the video. Coming to Android and cross platform app development, first we have to talk about IDE, and as I already mentioned, we just talked about programming language. Coming to Android, we have Android Studio and we have Visual Studio. We have two IDEs, commonly used IDEs. Android Studio is mainly creating apps for all Android platforms, including Android TV. It includes Android SDK so that you can have access to all the APIs that each new version of Android brings. APIs basically let you use device settings, so each version lets you create access new features. You can create a better native app using Android Studio. Although you can create a native app using Visual Studio, you it's not that easier for curve. You don't use APIs in the same way. It's just a process of using APIs is much more straightforward. Then it also had profiler, helps you Android profiler. It also helps increase the performance of the app. But on the other hand, mostly what Visual Studio is lets you create apps where you can access cloud support like with Azure, or if you need cloud support for your app's backend. That's what you do. And one more crucial thing about Visual Studio is huge extension support, so that you can customize every part of IDE, and then you can create cross-platform apps as needed. So that's the thing, because I'm not interested in cross-platform or cloud support. I'm just gonna stick with Android Studio as my IDE. Moving over to the iOS side of things, the IDE in question is for Apple is called Xcode, and programming language, as I mentioned earlier, is only Swift. Also, I would like to point out that after learning Swift, and when you want to publish an app on the App Store, you need to be part of the Apple Developer Program, which costs 99 USD per year. While on the other hand, if you want to be a developer on the Google Play Store, it's a one-time fee of 25 USD. All these prices vary according to your local region. So that is that. Although I'm not creating any iOS app right now, I may decide to do that in the future. And coming to the platform support, I don't know if it's relevant or not. You can access Android Studio, Visual Studio across all three platforms. Android Studio is even available on Chrome OS, and when I mean three platforms, I mean Windows, Mac, and Linux. So whatever IDE you choose, you can use it across various platforms and just get going. Then like unlike me, if you have any prior coding experience and you want to start creating Android apps, I suggest you go start learning Kotlin before jumping in creating an app. Or if you just want to stick around with Java because that's what you know, you can get started with Android development. But because I don't have any prior experience, I'm going to start with Android basics with Compose. It is like for beginners, given by Google on the Android Studio website. I will link this and all resources that I have found out during my research in the link, so if you can access them and take advantage of them. In all, I wanted to conclude by saying that I'm gonna go ahead with Android Studio as my IDE. I'm gonna start learning Android Studio and Kotlin basics so that I can create apps and gain knowledge, which I can then use to recreate my icons pack app. Anything else I want to add? Oh yes, before I get going on recreating the app, I do have to publish an update to my app, because I haven't published an update for over a year, and I got a mail recently saying that I have a few months to publish an update and meet the new API requirements. Otherwise, my account will be terminated. So I have to do that. So until then, take care. See you in the next one. Bye bye.